Wait, the recording starts. Welcome everybody to Saturday WITI Connect and Collaborate, where it's a lot of it's just about connecting and breakout rooms. We always have an amazing speaker join us for the second hour. We're not about being preachy and a whole lecture. We're about sharing some amazing people, what they're doing, so we could all learn. And Brett, I'd love for you, first of all, how long have you been training dogs? And what got you interested in it?
All right. Well, long story long. It all started when I was in high school, and this guy brought in his wolves, and they were running around, and I fell in love, and because I didn't know you could actually pet these animals, and they were just running around. He had control over them, and so I was writing a report when I was in my junior college years, and I chose to do it on hybrids. So I wanted to get as much information as I could. So I decided to volunteer at a wolf rescue, and I realized I had a knack for difficult dogs. So after that, I was able to get a job, and at a place that sent me to a dog training school, and I worked at vets and everything. So, and with different behavioralists and kennels. So, professionally, I've been training dogs. I started when I was about 21. I'm 37 now. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. What have you been seeing? Because I know, and Brett heads up training at our dog training and camp here on the Central Coast of California. And it's been amazing, Brett, just seeing what you've done with dogs and socializing them and other things. And could you share maybe some of the things you find, or just eat right? I mean, I think we have a lot of people I know that come to the camp. Maybe they got their dog during COVID. So sometimes then the dog, the owner's away for 5 minutes, they're traumatized. What have you been seeing now as we're moving forward? Or any maybe top two or three things you'd love to share?
Well, I, when it comes to aggression, we're not really facilitated enough to take these dogs on yet, but that's something I dream of doing, because that was something I worked with for like 10 years. I was fascinated with aggression. But since we're cage free, we can't really do that. But what we do is we get a lot of dogs who don't know how to greet other dogs and don't know how to socialize, or they're too pushy. Like they have, like, for instance, like bully a play. A lot of times people think, oh, my he's just playing, but really he's being a bully playfully. And so, and then we get the dogs that are afraid of other dogs and nervous around groups of them. So, what we do is we build their confidence up, with some of them, and so that they're comfortable being around the environment. So, it's a process. First, we just have them around dogs without having to engage, so they just learn to be with dogs and learn that they don't have to actually interact, so that their little confidence builds up a little bit. And so it's little things like that we do that slowly build their confidence up until, now with some of these dogs that were trying to dig their way out, climb fences to get away their first day. Now they're barking, a mile away before they get here because they're so excited and they're playful and happy, and then, with the dogs who were reactive, and too harsh playfully, we were able to break the behaviors down, so that they learn. We could teach them commands that we could use while they're playing with another dog, and so we call it socialization training, and that is no one's. I don't really know about too many other people who really coined the phrase, and so I'm really excited about it.
That's very impressive, Brett. Just I see you running, kind of taking them and working with each other and packs. And I guess you could easily identify, or I don't know if it's easy, but identifying who the leader of the pack is, right? I think from what I've seen, and tell me if it's true, like, well, I guess you'd be or the human would be the leader, but then have the other dogs, do they have different like hierarchies of where
You
they
have to respect the hierarchy, yes. So one thing, when like new dogs come in, um, sometimes there's always fight. I mean, there's always gonna be a fight in the dog world because there always has to be one and then two, so there has to be a hierarchy. So I'm able to read the body language well enough where in the beginning, if it looks like it's just gonna be a "Rah," just loud, as long as they're warning one another and the body language is saying, I don't really want to, they're both saying, I don't really want to do this, then I kind of let them work it out real quick. And that way they don't fight because it could get a whole lot, it could be, the fight could just get a lot worse if you don't let them kind of define their roles. Um, so, that it's, I've been doing it long enough where I could read the body language enough where I can tell when it's going to be just barking, you know, uh, a little pissing contest with barking. So, uh, what was the rest of the question?
yeah. No, no, I think you answered it. But what I was going to, the last thing I wanted to ask before I just, ask you to add anything, and please, if anybody has questions, raise your hand or put it in chat. Are there common denominators you see, just mistakes that maybe newer dog owners make, or that,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Big one is when a dog is super nervous and afraid, people want to comfort them, and they do so by petting. And petting is reassuring. So when you're petting a dog, you're saying, yeah, whatever you're feeling right now, keep doing that. And so what I tell people to do is petting, that's really for us. We're nervous that our dog's nervous. So we pet, that releases oxytocin. We feel better. The dog doesn't. And so you're just perpetuating a bad situation, and it's, you're confirming his fears. Instead, what you got to do is pat him, kind of, because dogs will push against force. That's why harnesses are tough, because they feel that pressure, so they push against it. So if you're patting them lightly, it's still affectionate, but they'll push against that pat lightly. So it takes the edge off of what they're thinking of, which is that anxiety. Next thing would be to keep them moving. Don't have them sit. Unless another dog is off leash and your dog is on leash, that's the only time you want your dog to sit. Otherwise, keep them moving, get them following you, get them in sync with you, and then you could turn them back around and walk towards the other, the situation. And then massages. If your dog's really nervous, give them a massage. Sounds silly, but it will relax them. Like, if I've had dogs that are whining, nervous, I'll just massage their shoulders as they're looking to create a positive association with looking into the camp where the other dogs are, and the whining stops. They're more relaxed, and then when I stop doing it, they start whimpering again. So it works.
right.
Um, then the biggest mistake, I think, would be inconsistency, with in timing when you are trying to train a dog something. So if especially when it comes to commands, if you're trying to teach a dog to come when called, if you haven't used the proper techniques to lure the dog to you for straight muscle memory, and then you're sure the dog's gonna come over to you and you cue him, like I do a treat in the hand, and I teach him to make contact with my hand, and then eventually that becomes come touch. So when I'm sure they're going to do that, that's when I use the word. Otherwise, people are just saying, come here. And the dogs don't know what that means. So it just becomes learned irrelevance, and it'll never work. So, first you got to teach them the muscle memory, and then you start adding the cue or the command when they start offering the behavior.
So, okay, well, thank you for that. We have a question from Iowa.
Yeah,
Brett?
I owe
I-
Brett a connection to Robin McFarland. I sent you that video from that training day she did here
Yes.
in Dubuque, so I want to make sure I connect you guys. So I will make sure I do that this weekend. David, if I don't do it by Monday, send me like a nasty email.
Oh, I'm
What's his,
going to.
what's his name?
Robin McFarland, it's a she. She's one of the best in the Midwest. That's my dog, and she
Right.
has a couple hundred trainers in her network. So but you guys think a lot alike. I think you guys might find some synergy.
Yeah.
Okay, because I did text you the other night, Brad. You're already on my list. You didn't get
Yeah, I
very.
know. I saw it. So did Ken Dubner. So did Amir.
It's all good. It's
I
all
was
good.
I was underwater for a couple of days. We're good to go.
I'm kidding with you. Okay, good. Well, thank you. No, I knew you were, Brad. So I'm here, and I've got big news and big things happening with the entertainment part of the summit and everything entertainment with WITI. Anything else? Anybody else? Questions, comments? Mike Brown, you might have touched bases with Brad. And we'll go into breakout rooms if there's no more questions, or we could just kind of go in and discuss some of these. Mike Brown, is your dog? Let's hear. Wait, let's bring you up to get an update on the dog.
Um, it's 5 months old, really good, but it's got submissive urination. So trying to figure that out. It's not scared and not been abused. There's no like track record of abuse, but when she gets excited, it's a leaky faucet
Oh, she pees. You cut
immediately.
out for a minute in the very beginning, so I didn't hear the
Yes, peeing
Yeah.
is an issue. Brad, yeah,
so excited peeing. Okay, so well, I mean, I'm sure it happens most when you come home after she hasn't seen you in a while, or
It can happen at any time,
okay.
even
You have
after taking her out for a walk.
even after taking her after a walk. Okay, you have to teach her to settle, and she has to learn to kind of settle on her own. And the best way to do it, and it's not my favorite, but it's better than a crate, because they have room to walk around a bit. Is tether training, and you don't leave them alone, but you tether them to a harness and you put it near their bed, and when they're walking around, they'll want to go somewhere else, and they have to learn to self-soothe, and that's when they'll start learning that they could just relax on their own. And then once they start, you notice the signs and they're going to go lay down. That's when you add the word, okay, settle, as they lay down, so that they start associating, oh, I'm relaxed, I'm about to lay down. And that's what that word means, settle. So you could start using it small. You don't want to use it right when she's super excited. You want to start small with, I don't know, something exciting at a distance, like something that she wants. Maybe like throw a ball, and then or not throw it, but maybe put a ball at a distance that she wants, and hold her back, get her, she'll get excited, and then you got to start working on teaching her to settle there first, and then you progress to more exciting things. But that's going to be the best way to teach her, or to keep her from peeing when she's excited,
I think
because
Jeremy's got a good question. Does this work? Does this work with kids?
I imagine so, but I don't know, I don't hang out with a lot of kids.
Brad.
I have a dog question. So this probably relates to kids and us. My brother has a 6-year-old dog that he got as a rescue out of a puppy farm. A big dog bit it, just a mess. Super cool dog. Dog loves him. But when he has to go on the trip for the weekend, he brings it over here. And the dog's cool. It's like sits right next to you. It's totally on your heel. It definitely loves the attention, but it won't eat for like 2 days. It like totally goes through some kind of dog transition trauma. Is there any way to like help the dog with that?
That's a tough one. I have the same issue sometimes. You can always, I mean, figure out where the dog eats, what time it eats at, if it eats with the owner, or if they free feed, and try to recreate. Oh, you can, and also have them send you a shirt or something that has the owner's scent on it.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Put that under the bowl, so that'll comfort him. And he may be more comfortable eating alone, or he may be more comfortable eating with someone nearby. Do you let's see.
That might be that. It's very friendly. It smells of food.
Yeah, but he's nervous. He's in a new place. He may not know that it's okay to eat he might be waiting for your approval, your release or something. Find out if your brother was
My
it.
brother, yeah. He gave me the rules, but they don't seem to work. That's why I was wondering what was wrong.
So
I
I
think
was
it's all type of
asking
glycemia
me.
because it gets shivers in the second day. I think it's because it's not getting any blood sugar. So,
Well, ask your brother if he free feeds or if he makes him wait before his meal.
okay.
Things like that, because he might be waiting for a release to eat,
Yeah.
or it could be a number of things. Most of the time, though, it's just they're in a new environment and their adrenaline is up. They're nervous, so their digestive system isn't going to be working. It's all their attention's going to adrenaline and the fear response. So
Yeah.
you got to get them as calm as possible, get them to relax to the point where now their system's working normally, and then they'll feel hungry. And then you could always go the easiest route and just add something really tasty to the food, and you could put it next prepare your food as well next to the bowl, and then put it down with them.
Got it. I'm noticing all these things apply to how Ken Dubner deals with me. Just saying,
Yeah.
Ken.
But yeah,
people and dogs have a lot of similarities, bro.
I don't get treats from you though. So
You tell Brad to sit, Ken.
I'm helping Brad to come out of the emotional silo and say, "Hey, start barking more, buddy."
Exactly. All right, one more question, then we're gonna do breakout rooms.
we have two, Susie and Dan.
So-
Susie has a question too. I didn't see your hand, Susie. I'm gonna pull you up. For Dan, go
Okay.
for it.
So, Brett, I've had 6 golden retrievers, and my experience is that the dog is far more a reflection of the human's emotionalist in their state than it's the dogs creating the state for the humans over here. Like, if you're excited, if you're anxious, if you're depressed, if you're whatever, the dog tends to pick up on it. And for me, the animals are far more intuitive and we're far more rational up here. And if we get that balance going pretty good, then we seem to have a more equilibrium.
Well, it depends. Like dogs will try. If I'm anxious or I'm nervous and whatnot, it's doesn't have to do with the dog, and so my dog will try and kind of comfort me and whatnot. But if I would be a neurotic person, that every time that state of mind is always present. So when you're looking at a dog, you're asking them for something. That's why if you're teaching them stay and you stare at them and they sit down and they shift their weight to the side, that means okay, they're gonna stay. And that's when you want to look away, because that's what dogs do, and they say, okay, you did what I wanted. Whereas if you keep staring at them, you're still asking them for something, even though they gave you what you wanted. So when people are neurotic, that state of mind, they're always expecting the dog to do something wrong, maybe. So they're putting that out there, and they're when they look at the dog, and the dogs will become neurotic because they don't know what to do or what that person wants.
And the other thing for me that's great about dogs is that when they have an experience, they do that shaking of their whole body and they literally have moved on then. And we as humans tend to stuff it and hold on to it. So I try to shake as much as possible.
Well, when they shake when they're happy, or shake when they're shaking off anxiety?
The anxiety, or if they see another dog and they're barking and they've got all of that going on, but when they're done, they do all that shaking thing and then they're like back to normal. And for human beings, I think it's harder for us to do that. So I try to do the shaking whenever I'm upset, like listening to David or whatever I'm doing.
Well, you gotta look for signs like sneezing, because when they're sneezing, they're letting the other dog know that it's not serious. But if they're shaking, then they're nervous. Like if they're shaking off, like they're wet, that means they're anxious. And so that you have to make sure you're you're doing puppy checks with younger dogs. So if one dog looks like she's giving signs of stress, shaking, licking his lips. You pull the more aggressive player away and just hold them by the shoulders, not his front. If you hold him by the front, that's like, hold me back, hold me back. It'll make him want to go forward more. But you just hold his shoulders and then kind of massage his side. And if the other dog goes back to him, then you could let him play again. But if not, then you have to teach the other dog to remove himself rather than you know, stay there and freeze. So you first have to remove the more aggressive dog, and then as he comes back, teach the other dog to remove himself.
Thanks. Susie, go for it.
Well, I adopted a wonderful Rhodesian. It's my third Rhodesian, and it's got some lab in him. But he's the sweetest, kindest, loving dog. He's really big. His name is Freddie Mercury. But being a Rhodesian, he's a hunting dog. So when I walk him, he's tracking. But he's big and strong, and he really, really pulls on that harness. Is there any way to control that pulling?
Yes.
All right, give me the magic.
When it comes to training, we often think we have to train our dogs first, but first thing we need to do is meet their needs. And that's where enrichment comes in. So enrichment is like, it's all the, it could be sensory, sniffing around, or it could be play, it could be exercise, it could be social. In your case, he's sniffing around. I would, start reading up on nose work and give him some, read up on the nose work and give him a job finding certain things around the house, or you have to meet that need of wanting to sniff.
That's a great idea.
So then once you do that, then you say, okay, go sniff. So and then when you practice outside, no sniff. So you have an on and off switch. And then you could find certain spots on the walk where you say, okay, now you can go sniff. But that you have to first teach the behavior and put a name on it, and then also have an off switch for it.
That's a great idea.
And then as far as the pulling goes, what do you have you watched any videos or anything on how to stop a dog from pulling?
I have not, and he's very strong animal. But when they're a hunting dog, they hunt lions in Rhodesia. That's the British raised Rhodesian to hunt lions. And when there's been a dog in front of us walking, when we walk, I probably walk 3 to 6 miles a day. I'll take conference calls and walk, and he goes with me. And when that other dog has been in front of us, he's, constantly after him.
Well, what? Oh, he wants to see the other dog. Are you using, what kind of leash are you using, first of all, and collar?
What kind of leash?
Yeah. Is it a retractable?
No. In fact, part of our communities have banned retractable leashes.
Good. Okay.
I have him on a harness. It's a sturdy harness. It's what the Rhodesian Ridgeback Rescue people told me to get. And it's probably no more than a 5-foot leash. It's thick.
Well, until my harness that I've designed comes out, the best one to use is going to be the Easy Walk harness. I'd write that down.
All right.
It's made by the same company that makes Gentle Leaders.
Oh, I did, and I had Gentle Leader.
I don't like Gentle Leaders. They're still uncomfortable, and
yeah, right.
If your dog's reactive and lunges at other dogs, then Gentle Leader. But this one is
so happy to see him. He's like
good.
A kid. I'm so happy to see you.
So you have to also, make sure you are socializing them too. Not necessarily dog parks, but maybe sometimes there's like unofficial dog parks, like where the neighbors take all their dogs, where they're familiar, so you know the dogs that are there, or set up play dates. But you need a balance too. And then so as far as the walking goes, you have to be more exciting than the surroundings. So you do a constant flow of treats first, and lots of love. Not you're just the most exciting person in the world. Lots of attention, and you have to practice this inside first,
Okay.
because the context won't transfer once you go open the door. You have to reteach it. Like a horse, you have to teach. If you teach it in one eye, you have to reteach it in the other. So dog, when you change the context, you have to go back to preschool, and it's a quicker process. You don't have to go. It won't take as much time to retrain it, but you have to show them the steps again. So you have to
All
start
right.
over.
Okay.
Start from the
That's
beginning.
great.
So a long line would be good too, because that would be, when he's at your side, that's no sniff time. But then when you say you have to give him a clear cut release, okay, go ahead, sniff. You give him some loose leash, but you have to still control the pulling. Now, as far as the pulling goes, when you have him on a short line and you're walking and you see him breaking pace, he's about to pull. That's when you start to go and then I do I lower my arms so that I'm not pulling upward, but I'm pulling downward and to the side with his harness, because the gentle leader will pull his body to the side. So I go and I take a step backwards as I make a light pull, not too hard, just enough to get him to stop in his tracks without pulling me.
Okay. These are all great suggestions.
So, because you have to be, if you're saying no or there has to be a consequence to follow that, and so that's why you want to be consistent with that. And then, after, and keep it short and sweet. So it's better to, also try not to walk in a straight line. Try and make it interesting, zigzag, things like that, because that gets them into pack mode, and they're much more receptive to following when you get them in to pack drive mode. And that's what I do with the dogs here. I get them all together, and then they'll start learning from one another, but they'll fall in line a lot easier. And one of the things that is with the pack is being able to follow their leader. So change the direction. Let's go. Give them a tug and change directions.
I do that now.
Yeah, go around a tree, and then make him sit. Okay, wait. And what I do is I keep a treat in my hand, and I teach touch. So I first put the treat in my hand, and they're gonna sniff it. So as soon as they start to sniff it, I say touch, and as their nose touches my hand, I open it up. They get the treat. That way, if I don't have a treat in my hand, I have a hand signal that'll work. Then I start using that on my walk. So if I see them breaking pace, and I can redirect them rather than correct them, that'd be great. So I do touch, and then I bring them back to my side, and then that becomes stop. So I go touch. As they touch, I say sit, and then I give them the treat, and then I do a touch release. Okay, go sniff, and I give them room, more line to go and sniff around.
It's a great suggestion.
Okay. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Brett. Amazing.
Thanks, Brett.
We'll have more on this, maybe separate rooms about it. Thank you all.